This is the Finesse Media Podcast, Season 3.
Ladies, have you realized when you go out, we don't dress up for men, we do it to compete with each other? You ever got real sharp and went to your girl house and she be like, okay, bitch, I see you. And she changed her whole entire outfit in the middle of that?
I'm going to come back and bring y'all back in the virtual space because what I want as two sisters, or not two sisters, but as two siblings, there has always, or could be this rivalry, but that has not been the case with you all. But Maeve, what do you see or have saw in your sister, growing up that inspires you and that has like always motivated you? And Fatima, I asked that same question to you. What have you seen in Maeve growing up, all these years where you go, damn, this man is consistent in that, and that has inspired me. But back to you, Maeve.
Well, I know she said she wanted to answer the question.
I did want to go
definitely
first.
couldn't answer first. Go ahead.
Patience. I feel like he has more patience than I do, and because he takes more time to learn about things, which makes me take more time to learn about things. Because I'm like real quick to be like, this is what I'm about to do right now, and not necessarily like I'm a jumper. Like, for example, we've been talking about the clubhouse, and I'm like, raise your hand. And he like, why? I don't know what to say yet. I'm like, look, I've been raising my hand no matter what. Like, so that we have that difference. So I think I learned from him that I need to, like, when I think of an idea, it's okay to be patient with it and actually take some time to do some discovery in it or maybe some research and then jump on it, because then you'll be more knowledgeable at the skill that you have. So I think that has always inspired me, because when he went back to school to work at the bank, I was like, yo, I could never have the attention span to do that. But he ended up, which I tell people now, because I have a lot of friends in LA that will say this to me. They be like, it's so hard. I got a job that's a 9 to 5 and I can't do it. I'm like, bro, I got a brother that works a 9 to 5 and he found a way to make music be in that 9 to 5. You can't come at me with this. You can't figure it out. So a lot of my friends would get mad at me when they would be like whining about their job and how hard it was. I'm like, yo, I got a brother that somehow he goes to a bank, but he'd be like, yo, guess who I met today? Like, it's a whole manifestation of where you put your mindset, so I'm inspired by that. And I actually use that story to a lot of my friends, and they be wondering, I'm like, yeah, my brother, I'm not going to be able to take that. I'm not going to be accepted because my brother figured it out. And they'd be like, oh, that's just him. I'd be like, no. You worked at a bank. He worked at a regular Chase bank. And I feel like in 3 months, I feel like every time you called me, you were like, yeah, man, I just met Diddy. He finna open up an account. I was like, what is going on? And that made me be like, nigga, you not working hard enough. He didn't met Diddy. 3 times as much. You be like, oh,
no, we good.
I thought you froze up.
I thought something happened. I was like, whoa. Nah, they messing with us though. So,
oh man, my tomato batch came up again.
Right. But no, it's cool. It's cool you say it though, because like I feel like that's maybe that's how we feed off each other. Because man, like you don't even know, like working there, you don't know how hard it is being a Grammy-nominated producer working at a bank. You have no idea how that feels mentally, and how that just how that is. So yeah, I'm sitting like
try getting recognized at the restaurant.
Right.
They be like, you a girl from True TV? Would you like some more water? Sit your ass down. Like I done had moments like that. Dang, you will humble the shit out your ass.
But it does though. It does, because for me, like I said, I had to get up every day and put a suit on, so I gotta be this professional guy, right? So I'm up here like literally putting together whole like accounts and
right.
financial situations with a whole song in my head that I know I'm gonna forget in a minute, right? So, I had clients that were, really big names in the industry. I don't want to throw their names out there, but I had really, really prominent clients, right? Because that was part of my job. A lot of those clients I got on my phone right now because I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving in a couple of weeks, and this is what I do. I'm not a banker that happens to be a producer. I'm a producer that happens to be a banker.
In other words, I learned from this dude. He learned how to utilize his space. I'll be honest, I'm more the sensitive sibling. So like when it's not going my way, I will have like and cry about it for like 10 minutes and then figure it out. But he showed me how to utilize my surroundings. In other words, like when I wasn't happy in restaurants, I learned from watching him how to like talk to people. and get more shows. I end up doing more shows and stuff towards the end, like at the job that I had at the restaurant, from just talking more and like being like, it ain't that bad. Just tell jokes, like figuring out a way. So that to answer your question, that's what I got.
No, the virtue of patience is definitely key. Yeah. It's definitely a virtue. So having that is a skill set that she sees, in Maeve. But Maeve, what you seen in Fatima all these years that has inspired
like I said earlier, I learned from her hustle, like, and I'm talking about like, I've been an observant person since I was a kid. So watching her go from dancing with my cousin, fearless in that, modeling, fearless in that, acting, fearless in that, stand-up comedy, fearless in that, you in LA, all of these things going on, you fearless in that. The fearlessness, like, she just said,
I'm raising my hand.
she just said, there's no, she don't think about it. She just does it.
Yeah.
I think about everything almost to a fault where I'll think myself out of something.
Oh goodness, yeah.
So like, which again, it's a cool trait to have, but it's a gift and a curse, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of watching her just jump, like take these leaps. I'm like, all right, okay. Some of this stuff I don't need to think about because I know when I get on the other side, I'm gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? I can hold my own because I always do.
Yeah.
Which is where all of this stuff comes from, where I'm like, all right, I'm not saying no to anything, unless it's something that I shouldn't be doing in the first place. But I'm not saying it's a lot of things that I'm not saying no to because I know once I get in that space, I'm good. Like I ain't gotta worry about it. So what's the word?
It's like the yin and the yang, man. It's like one's learning to
fear. It's that fearlessness is what I got from her. That inspires me, and the hustle, man. Like it's a nonstop grind and that, and again, that's something I learned all of these years. Like there are no breaks.
You
don't take no breaks. Like almost to the point now where I feel like any day where I decide I want to just sit down for a second, I don't know how to do that. I start feeling like a weird sense of anxiety, like I need to be doing. So I have to force myself to go sit down somewhere.
There's levels to sit down, though.
It's levels to sit down. It's like cat naps.
Mm-hmm. No, so, in other words, like I think what I learned recently from Dave Chappelle, which was beautiful. Nobody knows that man left for 12 years. People, that's how fast life moves. Nobody realized that when he left that show.
12 years.
12 years. Mm-hmm. So like to me, I'm like, there is room to sit down because that's the time that you can create something. But the level that he sat down at, he sat down on a nice little throne. You know what I'm saying? Like he left right after the big, rave with the Dave Chappelle show. So at that point, I mean, by all means, you got to sit down. They were talking about that in Clubhouse, like about sometimes you could be mentally tired and not be able to create. You got to know when to give yourself those moments to sit down, and they can be longer than what you want. Like creativity ain't all right, let me sit down for a couple hours. Sometimes you might need to recharge longer than that to get to the next level. Because like 12 years for that man, he came out rocking with specials. We got Sticks and Stones. He was, what?
Yeah, I think he has 7. I think he's the most comedian with I think he has 7, and I think Kevin Hart has 8.
8, yeah. That's another person that I feel like I watched it business-wise, how they really keep going and how they manage their creativity. Because I feel like in LA, and I say, some people say it, but LA is really crazy. I feel like I'm learning to manage my creativity. You will burn out in that city. They will suck you dry until the end. Like I have moments where, like now, I've gotten mature enough to literally say no. Like sometimes I'm like, if you pick everything and you do all the jobs and you try to make all these appearances, when it's time for you to do what you're really looking for, you're gonna be tired. You gotta mentally prepare yourself for how much this business really is. Like I think, like when I used to see, like before moving to LA, I would see like artists be like, it's crazy, or you see Britney Spears shave off all of her hair, right? Yeah. Everybody was like, that's insane. Now that I live in LA, I'm like, she was hot. Listen, like, so like that's normal. Like if you don't manage your mind and your body right in this business, you will crash. So I think I've learned that, like, because I'm going on 10 years in LA coming up in February. So like now when my managers be like, okay, can you squeeze in this podcast, then turn in this like 13-page, self-tape, then do a show. I used to be like, I want to be everywhere because I want this bad. I'm like, yo, hell yeah, bring them. And then you do them and then you get a cold or some shit. You're like, why am I sick? You can't be at all the events. Like you gotta, So I learned the management of knowing that I believe now that if you are creative enough, you will be wanted if you don't choose that job regardless.
Well, I think where we are right now, we like the talent is like is second nature, right?
Yeah.
So where we are now, it doesn't matter what situation we're gonna be in. We're gonna be all right once we get in the room with our talent.
Yeah.
Like,
but some people don't think that way. Some people be like, I gotta do everything.
Yeah, but now for us, it's more strategy.
Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, because now once you work smart, you're gonna work your way into the situation where you're gonna work your way into that situation, and you're gonna be okay because you know you're good at what you do. So now, like the whole talent thing, the whole 10,000 hours, we done with that. We passed off.
And you do it long enough to the point where you like, you know how like when we all been doing this for years, everybody has done something where you've been an extra or you've been in a music video, and you in that your mind frame at that time is like, if I do this, this gonna lead to, and then you do that and it don't lead to it. It don't lead to it. It's like you could have went to sleep that day. I just look at it like now you gotta work.
You have to balance your time. Balance your time. I mean, really, as an entertainer, as an entrepreneur, work-life balance still is the key. And some folks say, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, but you got to get behind some of these corporate folks and understand kind of how they have been successful. And sometimes Damon John says it all the time. I mean, one of the founders of Fubu, he said that a lot of people didn't know when Fubu was selling off the racks, he still was at Red Lobster. Taking orders and using that money to flip it and to also fund Fubu, but then to also get into some of the meeting rooms with some of the big wigs at Red Lobster and understand how they did business and how they became successful. Them cheddar biscuits ain't just flying off the shelf for no reason.
Okay, they selling the stores now.
You got to understand how business work. So I just love that. I wanted to kind of know your thoughts or each thoughts of how one inspired the other, since the inception of you two, man. So we rapping for real this time, y'all. But Team Italia, Maeve Mix, was it Mix Maven? I messed that up, man. It's a tongue twister. Why you come up with something like that?
Mix Maven, man.
Mix Maven. Mix Maven for Team Italia, man. Join the podcast for the first time. We'll see you next week with something brand new. Peace.
This has been another edition of the Finesse Media Podcast. Join us again next week for the latest news from HBCUs. Special guest